I'm Lester Holt. Howdy, Holdheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Dateline.
And we are here to discuss a kind of new Dateline. It was new 2 weeks ago. It was a Sunday app, and it was a shorty, but it was brand spanking new. We had some questioning Holdheads out there saying it wasn't new. And what happened? Did I put her in her place or what? Did I say, prove it?
You did, and she could not.
She could not prove it. So that was cool. But anyway, let's get into this. First, I'm going to read the IMDb. A Staten Island teacher's murder in her home leads detectives to discover hidden problems through a mysterious phone number, eventually helping them identify who killed her. This is Secrets of the Sliding Door, starring KM. What'd you think, Caitlin?
I like this one, Kurt.
I mean, after what was it, 3 in a row that we weren't crazy about? This was just breath of fresh. It was a down the line Dateline.
It was.
Can we say that? It was no surprises and stuff. Classic dummies in action.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt good. I was like, this is where we need to be.
This is where we need to be all the time. And then when there are crazy ones, like a Canadian jet skier, those become...
Or Scottish Orphan.
Those become the standouts.
Yeah.
But this should be the bar.
I 100% agree. This should be when we're like, it was a Dateline. But now we're just like, it tasted like a Dateline. I loved it.
Right.
So, anyway, but I'm glad we're here, and I'm glad KM's with us.
Here's Keith Morrison.
Our story begins in Manhattan, New York. But not that New York. Did you like KM's intro to this? He was having some fun. He had some real great KM lines.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, when he opened talking about New York, and then later he's talking about something about secrets. If you let them live, they'll expose themselves.
Turn over enough stones and, well, you never know what you'll uncover.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wait, but I'm confused. You just said Manhattan, New York.
What about it?
But it's Staten Island.
Yeah, that's true. He opened talking about Manhattan, though. Do you know?
Oh, right.
He was like doing like a flashy, like New York City.
Manhattan. Perhaps the most recognizable cityscape in all the world.
But not that New York. We're talking about the quieter one.
Staten Island, the often forgotten fifth borough.
And yes, this is a New York story. But not this New York. This one.
Have you ever been to Staten Island? Are you familiar with it? I would not have known to call it a borough. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, the boroughs are Manhattan,
Okay.
the Bronx,
Yep.
Queens,
Okay.
Brooklyn,
Yep.
Staten Island.
Ah,
Staten Island, the home of Mr. Colin Jost.
sweet. Did you know he might leave SNL?
I don't care.
Great. I like him. Took a while to warm up to him, but I think he's funny.
Sure was damp today.
Back to this Dateline. Our story begins in Staten Island, July 5th, 2012. Jonathan Krupe comes home to find his wife, 29-year-old Simonette Mapes Krupe, found dead. She is stabbed to death at the bottom of the stairs, I believe. Does that sound correct? I don't remember them going into detail about the wounds and stuff.
They said stabbed to death or apparent stabbing.
Okay.
But they did not go into details because the details and the manner of her death weren't the clues that led them to the killer.
Very true.
So I think that's why they skipped over it.
Yeah, and you know what? What's interesting about this is there's only one clue that led them to the killer, and we'll get to it, but it's pretty fascinating when you think about if that one clue had not existed. Okay, but anyway, we hear a 911 call, and the husband is distraught. Tell us about this 911 call, and what were you thinking?
Well, I was skeptical because he's the husband,
Yep.
and he calls 911 and he says, my wife, she's dead. Oh my God. And classic, the 911
What?
dispatch says, well, are you sure? How do you know that she's dead? And he's like, there's blood everywhere.
I know you're scared, but what? Like, why do you say she's dead? Like, if she
There's blood all over! Yeah, he says, I think we were robbed. Guess what? That's when I said, sorry, Jonathan. You did it.
You did it.
I think we were robbed. Dude, stop it. You don't plant the seed of what you want them to think in the same breath as the 911 call, okay? The moves this dum-dum tries to pull off a murder in here, but I was calling bullshit right away on this 911.
Yep.
I just came home. My wife is dead. Oh my God, I think my house was robbed.
We see some, this isn't a B-roll you busted, it's a guy in the B-roll you're kind of busted. Because they had like news footage outside the house, and there was like a cop in a suit and tie cop, like a detective dude, on his phone, like walking along a raised curb, you know, like balancing on it, and he kind of tripped and fell off it. Not like a full-on trip, but he definitely fell off a little, and they showed it twice. He's not interviewed, okay? His coworkers were actually interviewed on this show. And his only claim to fame is that they show him twice kind of fumbling. So,
Embarrassing. You know they're roasting him in the office.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And if I were him, I'd be coming for the detective that was interviewed on here, because dingus alert, Kate. For one thing he says, I got my eyes on the detective tonight.
Okay.
And we hear about the scene, of course. Burglar who didn't know what he was looking for. The drawers are thrown everywhere.
But nothing's missing.
Of course not. But every single thing is torn out and thrown like crazy.
Like a burglar who didn't know what the heck he was looking for or didn't know where to find it or something.
I would agree with that.
And the very next day, the mom, we got to say, Staten Island, we've got some classic New York accents in this episode.
Amazing.
Are you with me?
The mom...
Everybody's got one, it seems.
The mom's voice is incredible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to see my daughter.
And the DA has a great one.
I'm going to tell you right now.
What up?
I'm obsessed with this DA.
She's pretty cool, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
First of all, to me, looks like a Debbie Mazar kind of lady.
Even the cops, again, thick accents, but they're saying stuff like, you know what, Keith?
You know what, Keith? She was an angel.
I liked the vibe that the cops had a little, right? Because we hear her background on Simonette. What's her story?
She is an angel. She teaches at a very dangerous public school that is not on Staten Island. And her family was hoping that she would leave that school and come back to Staten Island to teach where it was safer.
Yeah.
The school where she was teaching was directly across the street from the Cypress Hills projects. And there was a lot of violence. They just thought something might happen to her. Ironically, something did, but in her own home.
That's true. The mom was really gung-ho about getting her out of there. And the mom also, we got to say, goes on the news the following day and tells that killer, I will find you. Wherever you are.
I will find you. I will get you. You will pay.
I liked that. I hope the killer was sitting at home going, uh-oh.
It was scary. It reminded me of, this is a very obscure reference, Kurt.
Okay.
There was a show on MTV. I think it was like A Day in the Life or something, and it was about this Staten Island couple getting married. It was a reality show. Right. And the groom, there's a scene where the groom is pissed off at the limo driver for being late on his wedding day, and he's on the phone threatening him in a way that reminded me of Simonette's mother, where it was like, I will find you and I will gut you like a fish.
Wow. That rings no bells, so I'm going to have to request that you find that clip.
I'll try to find it, but it's very old.
I will gut you like the f***ing piece of that you are. Do you understand? Don't you f***ing dare come after me like that on my f***ing wedding.
And we meet a few of her students, too, because she was loved. She loved Disney. She's always singing Disney tunes. She had some real, it was almost like movie stuff where a guy was getting made fun of and was going to quit school. And then she's like, no, you got to stick it out. We talked to him. I was feeling for this dude, huh?
He was bullied in school, ready to quit, until Mommy Mapes stepped in.
He was very upset.
Yeah.
He actually gave me one of my list items.
He sure did. So, the cops, they're looking at her background, and of course, everybody loved her, so who would want to do this? I forget if this goes on my list now, but do you remember what Simonette taught in school?
Oh, yes. Social studies.
Yeah. Not social studies.
Not social studies.
As what everybody would say.
Social studies. I wonder if
Classic.
It wasn't called that when Keith was growing up. He doesn't understand that you don't emphasize the studies.
Yeah.
Because I guess it was history and civics for him.
Yeah. I had social studies. It was definitely mostly history. That's what we considered social studies.
Yes.
But he hits me with a classic social studies, right?
Social studies.
There she taught social studies.
What do you say? Emphasis?
Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
That's what it was. And so the cops are trying to think of motives, or what would be a reason that Simonette, or Sissy as they called her, be murdered. And the first thing they think of is, her husband, who is also a teacher. She got her husband a job at the teacher, too, and we see a ton of video of him being goofy or making students laugh and stuff. And he's got a side hustle that maybe that's what the robbery was for. So tell us about this side hustle.
Well, he's a sneakerhead. So he buys and resells very expensive sneakers. And in the attic of their house, the third floor, was where he kept all of them. So hundreds and hundreds of very expensive shoes are up there. And yeah, that actually, to me, that is a believable thing to want to steal. But it didn't seem like any shoes were missing or that floor had been ransacked. So immediately I'm like, well, that's not the motive. Especially because the rest of the house, it was torn up. So No.
Yeah. You know what? I bet this dummy, it didn't even cross his mind to make it look like somebody was after his shoes.
Yeah.
Like he tore out her jewelry and stuff. The clothes are everywhere, but it's the supposable valuable thing. Now, I feel like the picture we got was of a closet, and none of those shoes were in boxes. I am not a sneakerhead. I believe you are more of a sneakerhead than I. Is he selling those in no box? What's going on?
I didn't get the impression that that was actually a picture of his collection, because Simonette's mother said the third floor was just all these shoes, and that picture was just a little closet.
All right. I mean, that's the pic they showed us when talking about the shoes, but I would hope there was more to it.
I would hope there were boxes.
Yeah.
And I mean $300, $400, $500 sneakers. Dozens of those. So there's sneakers upon sneakers.
Would you buy shoes without a box? I don't think so.
I have, but I knew that they were without a box.
Yeah.
They might still have tags on them or whatever. If you're dealing with high-end sneakers, they should be in a box.
Yeah. So the cops are wondering, what if it was for the shoes? But because Dum Dum didn't make any of the shoes look jostled or touched at all, they can cross that off the list.
Mm-hmm.
And their next one speaks to the neighborhood thing where a week before the murder, they had been outside and witnessed a shooting across the street, and they had to like duck behind a car and stuff.
Yes. She and her husband.
There was a shooting nearby, and they ducked down behind the car once they heard the gunshots go off.
They were thinking, oh, well, you know, these gang dudes, they do not...
If they were a witness to a shooting, they're going to want to get rid of them.
Because she had posted about it on Facebook and stuff, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this, I didn't think so.
No.
At all either. I didn't, because they kind of speak to it, the student does, where it's like they're killing each other. Like,
yeah.
These gang members, they're too busy killing each other. They're not worried about any outsiders.
And then they have a funeral for her, of course. Huge turnout. Always got to feel good for the fam. Huge turnout. And this was cool as hell. And talking about movie stuff is they wipe clean this gangland shooting theory, because who's in attendance but both sides of the gang war? Crips and Bloods together. And why were they cool with that? This was pretty awesome.
They knew how important she was to the neighborhood, and they agreed for one day only to call a truce so they could all be together at this funeral paying their respects.
Yeah.
A high-ranking member of the Bloods gang telling my mother that for today, they made a truce to say goodbye to my sister. They respect her that much.
That is something.
She had a big impact on this neighborhood in a positive way, and it's really sad. Of all people, not that anyone deserves it, but that she's the one who was killed. The funeral was at a Catholic church with a classic Catholic name, Our Lady of Pity. These Catholic churches, why call it that? It's so sad and depressing. Our Lady of Sorrows.
I'm trying to think. When I was growing up, I went to St. Vincent's. But there were other schools that had names like that, where it was like the something something of a something.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't pull any. I didn't catch that name. That's great. Okay, so that's off the table. And we're talking about DNA found at the crime scene. The cops swab a sliding door that leads into their house. And they find Jonathan's prints, of course. And they also find that of a female. But not Simonette's. This is an unknown female's DNA.
Yes.
So what's going on here?
Now, at first I'm thinking, well, you know, they have friends. They have family.
Yeah.
Everybody touches the door when they enter a house. So immediately I knew they were going to head down this path and it would reveal something because it's a shorty Dateline. But if I was really a detective on this case looking at the evidence, to me that wouldn't be anything unusual. There'd be tons of DNA on the door.
Yeah. That's what I thought of later when the defense is like, what about this unknown fingerprint on the jewelry box? Who could that be? And I was like, well, it could be her mom. It could be 100 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know what it is about this door. I was thinking, sounds like some other lady was in on it.
That is what they want us to believe.
Yeah. And no, Jonathan's, again, way too dumb for that.
Mm-hmm.
So this was crazy. I thought this was a KM mistake at first until other people were saying it. Keith says when they process Simonette's phone, in there they find a contact. They find a phone number that's unknown, and the contact is assigned to quote woman.
Yes.
And that's it.
And when investigators searched Simonette's phone, they discovered another unknown female.
The contact came up as woman.
Woman? Well, that's intriguing.
Now, I thought they were talking about Jonathan's phone.
No.
But this is Simonette's phone.
It's Simonette's phone, and this actually kind of confused me later, so I'm glad you brought it up. because it wasn't used in the trial the way I thought it should have been used. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you here. The detective, who I'm roasting any minute now about what he said, but it's not yet. But he was like, they Googled the number, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, oh, you didn't hit that Cash App like the Paces? Sounds like you're not as cool as the Paces.
The Paces knew what was up, man.
Yeah.
She ran the number through one of her mobile payment apps.
And I put it in Cash App and I said, Jason Chin.
So he Googles it like anybody, finds it listed under a back page ad for an escort. And the DA says her tag name was Miss Pumpkin. What the hell's a tag name? Is that a thing?
A username.
A username. Did the DA have piercing blue eyes? Like the piercing blue eyes of Debbie Mazar, for instance. I'm just curious.
Maybe not. I was more focused on her mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Loved her mouth.
Same. I'm with you there. Everything was said with like kind of a smile, and the upper lip was doing stuff where I was like, you know what? This DA is kind of good.
She's like...
I was into it.
She's like kind of hot, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And later when the defense attorney shows up and they start talking to him, he's like, as soon as I knew that she was the one I was up against, I knew I was doomed, basically.
I love that you brought that up because he says, we've gone head to head 5 or 6 times, and every time it's a war. And what I was waiting to hear was whether he had won any of those.
I doubt it.
I've probably tried at least 5 or 6 homicides against Wanda, and it's a war. It's war.
Very telling. We didn't hear what the tally was because I think he's never won one against her.
How
is
could
what I
you?
think he's saying.
How could you?
Yeah. He's like, every time it's a battle, we're going to war, and I lose every single time. Do you think that the DA considers that a battle?
No.
No. She's like, who? That guy?
Oh, that guy? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No. Here's... Okay.
Oh.
So they got to talk to...
So this was...
You know what I'm going...
This was so weird on Keith's behalf.
On Keith's part.
So...
I knew it!
The detective, he's like... he basically says, all right, I'm going to pose as a John and book her for an hour or whatever and go ask her questions at the hotel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Keith was like falling asleep or what, but he did not understand what he said. And he said, say that again? And I'm like, Keith, come on, man, keep up.
Yeah.
And then he repeats it slower and word for word, but
yeah.
I guess explaining it a little more. And then Keith's response to that is like, oh, I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that. It's like, Keith, are you good, man?
Ordering her up as a John in order to get her to show up at a local motel on Staten Island.
Say that again?
Detective Cosenza and I...
That is so funny because he goes, this you won't find in the police manual. And I want to go, Keith, it's 100% in the police manual.
It's textbook.
Guess where else it is? Every TV and movie you've ever watched.
It's so standard. How do you talk to the hooker? You go hire her.
Yeah, you pose as a John. I mean, that is such 101 stuff.
It is.
That he was so floored, like he had never heard that before in his life.
Man, he's slipping.
That was really funny.
Their solution? You won't find in any police manual.
But this meeting with old Miss Pumpkin goes pretty well because, you know, I assume they say, like, you're not in trouble for prostitution. We just have some questions about a murder. And she's like, a murder? I don't know anybody named Jonathan.
Yeah.
And then they show her a picture. She had no idea. She's hearing these names for the first time. Then they show her a picture of Jonathan, and she's like, oh, Mike? Yeah, I know Mike.
Yeah.
We've been dating for years.
She only had one school teacher that she was dating at the time.
Well.
We showed her a picture. She knew Jonathan Krupe as Mike.
I mean, this is, I just think it's funny that he's a John in this scenario, but he's not going by John. He's going by Mike, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of funny?
It's funny.
Good, honey.
The screenshot of Miss Pumpkin's Backpage profile, it says she's 23. So if he's been dating her for years, she's pretty young.
Yeah. Because of this, they asked Miss Pumpkin to come on down to the police station and they have a talk with her. It's interesting because for these years that they've been together, he has always scheduled it weeks in advance.
Mm-hmm.
But what was different about their last time they met up, and when was it?
It was the day of Simonette's murder, during the day, and he called Pumpkin from Simonette's phone.
They don't say that, though. They don't. They just say an unidentified number.
He called her the day of, from a different number, to
demanded, I need to see you today.
I was wondering the same thing, Kate.
It has to be that. Why else would that number be in her phone?
Because if we're to believe that it's not if we believe, the mom talked to her the night before and she had been bawling. So, and she had been telling her mom that she's going to have like a come to Jesus moment with Jonathan because all these reasons that we'll talk about. But it's possible that she confronted him with knowing the number of this lady is maybe how it happens. Because I bet she pays the phone bill. She probably saw that number on there a bunch and was like, who the hell is this? It's also, I assume he must have called her because he has an alibi for the day, supposedly, where we see him on security cams and he's got receipts. But there's one window of time where he said he was somewhere, Home Depot.
Investigators were never able to confirm one part of it, the visit to Home Depot. And now they knew why.
Miss Pumpkin was his Home Depot.
You got it. Pit stop.
Classic. It's almost like Dateline has a deal with Home Depot. It's never Lowe's. Am I right? It's always friggin' Home Depot we're talking about.
Yeah.
Instead of going to Home Depot, he went over to Miss Pumpkin's and partied. This guy. Tell us what you think. You think he called her but why?
So that if the cops looked through his phone, they wouldn't see that he made a phone call to Pumpkin.
But he's been making calls to her for years.
But not on the day he's going to murder his wife. But it's confusing because this almost is in favor of Jonathan, because it's like, it makes no sense that he would murder his wife and then go run these errands and then go meet up with Pumpkin.
Yeah, it should be, right? Like, if we gave Jonathan any sort of credit for not being a total dummy loser, you'd think, surely you're not that stupid or needy. Like, really? You have to do this between killing her and finding her body? Like, you got to go knock some boots real quick?
Right.
And, right? I mean, and also, they get a swab from Miss Pumpkin. Her DNA matches the unknown woman on the sliding door.
It does. So I'm thinking this dude had his fingers up inside her or something, didn't wash his hands, and came home and opened the door and put her like juice on the handle.
Yeah. I mean, yes. That's what I think happened 1,000%. My first thought was, this is when I was thinking they did it together for some reason. Because why was she there that morning? But no, it's for an even dumber and grosser reason. He had to have sex with her, didn't shower, and then got her DNA on the door handle. I mean, this is just...
What other DNA could it have been besides what I mentioned?
That's exactly what I think it was, too. I'm glad you said it, and you worded it, but I was like, how do I say this in podcast terms? But I think you did pretty good. That DNA matches. And, okay, this is the part where I got to call out the dingus cop. You know when cops try to talk with a lot of words to make them sound like they're super awesome and smart?
Yes, but they're really just saying a very, very basic sentence.
Yeah.
And then they use too many prepositions.
Yeah. Keith goes, I'm talking about the detective, not the bald one, but the one with the shades and like the silver beard that went way down here. Keith's like, her DNA matches. Was she involved? And this, I'm going to read word for word. This was this dingus's reply.
It's telltale sign of a good detective to make sure that you let the evidence speak to you and tell you the story.
What the does that mean?
That's just what evidence collecting is.
It doesn't answer the question. It's just saying, like, what is he saying? Honestly, it's in no way an answer.
Dumb.
It's a telltale sign of a good detective. That's incorrect usage of telltale sign. Also, you just drop telltale at the very least. Right?
Is he just saying, I did my job?
Yeah, that's it. That's what he's getting to. So he was pretty stupid there, and I was cracking up. And Miss Pumpkin tells them, yeah, I've been to the house, just not on the day of the murder. So this MFer was bringing her over and doing her in, like, his wife's bed stuff. I mean, this guy, not cool, dude.
No, not cool.
Oh, and so they look at her cell records, and her phone does not ping near that place that day. So thankfully, Miss Pumpkin cleared.
Yeah.
It wasn't her. It was only this dipshit, Jonathan.
Miss Pumpkin was cleared. But Jonathan? Not at all.
Cops go back to the scene of the crime to see what they missed, because it was still a crime scene. Jonathan had not been released there yet. And what do they find out about this green bag? This was another thing that sunk him in such a way.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
God. We see footage of him when he's doing his alibi errand running. We see video of him leaving the school and doing all this stuff, and he's carrying this green bag. But then later, the police find his green bag in the closet behind where Simonette's body was, which means he did come home and put the bag away and then kill her, because you wouldn't have been able to get to the closet door to put the bag away if your dead wife was laying in front of you, blocking the closet.
Yeah. Now, that's what I thought first, but her time of death was before 7:30. Okay, so that means that she was dead when he left. But I think that this makes him even dumber, because that means that he came home to a body that had been laying there for 4 hours, and he only knows, he's like, well, the green bag goes in this closet. So instead of like setting it in his bedroom, he steps over the dead body to open the closet. I mean, that's even dumber than the scenario you're proposing. Don't you think? Like, every step of the way, it's like, no, it's actually for a dumber reason he did that.
Yes.
In order to get to that closet, he had to step over his wife's dead body to pull that door open, which is disturbing to say the least.
That is pretty disturbing.
Classic husband who doesn't know how to do anything.
Yeah, and it's not like it was hanging on next to the coats and purses, okay? It was sitting in the middle of this room. So why's it got to go in there, dude? Why's it got to go? And hey, what was in there?
What did they find?
Laptop.
They found his laptop, and the laptop was full of porn sites and escort sites on the search history. Or I don't even know if it was the history. It sounded like it was just the browser was up, and that's what was in every single tab.
Yeah.
And it was also his work laptop. Because he brought it home with him from school. You see him with the green bag on the surveillance footage from the school. So he's just looking at this stuff constantly.
That is so true. And that's when the DA says, and now we're in Bizarro land.
Porn site, escort site, porn site, escort site, porn site, escort site. So now we were in Bizarro land.
Which I don't know what she means by that, but she's cool. We're going to let it slide. But I thought it was funny how it was like, porn site, escort site, porn site, escort site. Anyway, so that was pretty funny. And this is when they say, this is where Keith brings back the angel. Living with an angel, but behaving like a devil. Nice, Keith. Nice. Yep. Okay, so now we're looking at, well, why would Jonathan want her dead so quickly? And the biggest thing, in the state of New York, you can't be a teacher without your master's. Okay? And so Simonette and Jonathan now have to get their masters. Simonette does it and crushes it, right?
Yeah.
She graduated with flying colors.
She thinks her husband is taking classes, but he's not. He didn't even register.
He has been spending the money that he should have been using for classes on Miss Pumpkin and sneakers.
Yeah.
And Simonette found out that he did not have a master's degree, even though she just got hers, and she was planning to leave him.
Yeah, well, the principal found out too and told him an ultimatum. If you don't have your master's by like next term or when school starts or whatever, then you're out. So he was going to get fired anyway. So this is just one more thing on the list of Simonette is like, this is all the stuff that she's going to give him a talk about, like, what's the story? And somewhere along those lines, she discovered the phone number of Miss Pumpkin. And so I do believe that the night before, they had a confrontation about it. So do you think that Jonathan went to sleep that night on the couch going like, well, I got to kill her now?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Rather than go and get his master's,
he
decided instead he would kill his wife.
Yeah. I don't get it. Like, maybe he really, like, because she got him the job, right? So who knows if he wanted to be a teacher? Like, he's just getting helped along by the ladies in his life. You know what I mean? Like, does it sound that hard? Dude, you're already a teacher. Your wife's also going to school for it. Like, knock it out together. What's the big deal?
Totally. And while you do need a master's, I just want to clarify that you don't to start, but you have to be working towards it by a certain time, or else, like the ultimatum they gave Jonathan, be fired.
Gotcha.
But the fact that he couldn't do it, even though his wife would have helped him, it sounds like, if he just wanted the money to use elsewhere. He clearly had some addiction issues.
Yeah, if he had just done it alongside his wife, he could have coasted again by like cheating off her stuff.
Yeah, just copy her homework. And he already had a teaching position, so like a lot of the masters is doing student teaching, which he was already able to do because he was a teacher. It would have been so easy.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
So with all this, they arrest his ass. This is like several months later, but they arrest him, and the trial starts in June of 2015. And Miss Pumpkin takes the stand. I didn't like how surprised the DA was that she was like well-spoken and educated, okay, Kate?
Sure, but I think they probably deal with a lot of sex workers in the court systems.
Okay.
And maybe they're not used to someone as cool as Pumpkin. The fact that she was really willing to help and was like chill and interesting and funny. I don't know. Maybe she was just like, you know what? I like this broad.
Yeah. She just framed it like she was like, this is going to sound weird coming from me, but she was educated. I want to be like, come on, don't throw all sex workers in this group that they're all like idiot drug addicted losers is all.
It's true. It's probably just the majority that she's dealt with in court hearings maybe were.
Yeah.
So, this is going to sound odd maybe coming out of my mouth, but what a lovely woman. Very pleasant, very well put together, educated.
Okay, so the trial starts. This is when we meet this dud defense attorney, when he's like, the greatest battles ever between me and her. We go head to head. Oh, this is when we find out prosecution, along with all the other evidence and circumstantial stuff we've got against this dud. Oh, because the cops, like, they don't have a murder weapon. They don't have video. Like, they don't really have a lot to pin it on him, right?
No, they don't.
And now, this is when I gotta say, if Simonette had not discovered Miss Pumpkin's phone number and assigned her to a contact in her phone, he might not have been caught. Am I wrong?
He might not have been caught, no. And also, if he had just washed his hands when he came home, unless they looked at his phone history, checked all the numbers that he was calling in the past.
I don't know if they would have.
I don't know that they would have. It's like Simonette solved her own murder case.
Exactly. And I'm surprised. Dateline loves to present that in a story. And I'm here for it because I think it rules. They could 100% done it here. Is that she got the last laugh of like, she's the last one to speak on the matter because she put this number in her phone. Like, I bet that floored Jonathan. He's probably like, what? Anyway, so he's going to trial, and we find out a bunch of search terms that he did too. You remember any of these bad boys?
They were all about how to kill someone and how long to do something before someone dies, or how do you break someone's back and then kill them. And his poor defense, they were like, well, he's an English teacher and he was teaching Macbeth. So he just wanted to know different ways to murder somebody. No,
he specifically searched how to slit a throat. Now, I haven't read Macbeth in ages. AKA ages never, but I've seen quite a few adaptations. That's not true either. But I am familiar with the premise. Is there a specific part where like the details of a throat slit is happening? Like,
or like specifically back breaking, like spine breaking to kill someone?
Can a fall actually break someone's neck?
Right.
Is another thing you searched. Are these all elements of Macbeth? I don't know. I don't think
this isn't the first time that Macbeth has come up on this podcast.
Okay, it's not even the third time. I feel like Macbeth has come up a bunch. It's also on the Patreon as well, because of the Michael Winner True Crimes show.
Enter Lady Macbeth.
But I'm with you. I thought the same thing. I said, frickin' Macbeth is back.
Dude.
It's back.
It's kind of lazy at this point.
A little.
So as soon as he said he's teaching Macbeth, I'm like, snooze.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah, I don't care if the teacher's going to talk about how to slit a throat and stuff. He's not holding my attention up there.
No.
Except for one time where he pretends to... Wouldn't you love to know the context of that video of when he was throwing the yellow papers out? When they kept showing how he's a fun and quirky teacher?
He's used to doing that motion at the strip club. Because that is a place that he frequents.
He's making it rain with papers. You're 100% correct.
Listen, we've also talked about the strip club.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it, but like that is what he was doing.
Yeah. All of the things he was getting up to, well, I guess escorts aren't legal, but in my book, all that is A-okay if he's a single man. It's the fact that he's married and living a lie that is the problem.
Right. And if she knew about it and was cool with it, that would also be fine. But that was not the case.
No.
And by not telling her about all of those activities, you're putting her health in jeopardy.
Yeah, and remember how she was at one point going to be a nun? How close... that Keith told it as if she was going to be a nun, and then she met Jonathan and decided not to.
Her deep faith once led her to consider becoming a nun. And then she met him, the love of her life, Jonathan Krupe.
Do you think it was that close?
Maybe.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Because of all the dudes, he's like the least nun-like.
Yeah, it's kind of like, boy, what drew her away from a life of servitude to the Lord? This guy? Wait, this guy?
This guy?
Yeah. This dude right here? The guy with the snakes? I don't know. Do we know how long they were married? Like, when did the escort stuff start? Like, right away?
I have to think it was probably going on even when they met. Like, this kind of thing just doesn't I don't know.
Yeah?
Especially because he had been seeing Miss Pumpkin for years, but who knows who he was seeing before her.
Or during. I mean, the way, like the DA was saying escort service, porn site.
Right.
Ba, 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 ba. I mean, he's not going back to Miss Pumpkin's page a billion times because he's got her number.
Yeah, you're right. He's looking for different people.
Yeah. So there might be other Miss Pumpkins out there. So the defense says it was a bungled burglary because there was an unknown print on a jewelry box. This guy is so out of his league with this DA and stuff. I mean, he can't. It's not, none of it's working. Keith is also not into it. Keith is really shutting him down too. There's a part where he goes, okay, he admits to Keith that they tried to get more men than women on the jury because men would understand why they would lie and say that they were buying a hammer at Home Depot instead of seeing an escort. And Keith was like, did you see any eye rolls in the jury box when you said that?
Yeah, he wasn't having it. I wanted him to say why you would lie about buying a hammer at Home Depot instead of giving the hammer to Miss Pumpkin. I was waiting for that wordplay, and it didn't come.
Did anybody roll their eyes in the jury box as you went down that road?
I don't recall that, but I have to answer it.
And also, their theory was that the death happened too early. Now, this is some really... Keith says, so your theory is that the murder happened too early. He goes, no, Keith. The death happened too early. What's the difference, bro? What's the difference? What are you saying? Is his theory that the murder was the stabbing and then she took 2 hours to die?
Did you argue that the timeline of the murder was inaccurate?
I argued that the timeline of the death was inaccurate. Time of death was inaccurate.
Are you with me here that they're splitting hairs here? There's some BS on the defense's part?
Yes. I think maybe the defense attorney knew that Keith was skeptical and was just trying to fight every sentence.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a good theory because his response to the eye roll thing is he's like,
I can't just let it sit out there and dangle.
That to me was the defense attorney going like, look, dude, I got to have an answer for all these things, okay? I'm not saying everyone's going to work. Right.
The expert that the defense hired says that the murder was later in the day, right when Jonathan was busy out of the house. But it's just,
at Home Depot.
They always do this. It's like, well, our guy says it's this. It's like, okay, but you hired him to say that.
Yeah.
The medical examiner is the one who was there on the day and saw her body and could calculate exactly how long she had been dead. And then your guy comes in years later, and what does your guy look at to determine this?
Yeah.
The records from the medical examiner who already did the job?
I guess it's like there's still a lot of guesswork, as I've learned from defense attorneys on shows. Who knows if this is true? But according to them, there's a big window of guesswork for time of death, right? Like it's not something you can tell right to the number. I guess that's what he's saying here, but I'm with you where it's like, if your guy's right, defense, we should start a trial against the ME if he was way off.
Right. Because then is he way off about every single case?
Yeah. Or is it just the fact that this is the guy you hired that was like, look, we'd really love it if you could say it was closer to like 11 a.m. or something.
And then did they hire other experts who didn't give them the time they wanted, so they just said keep walking until they found someone that would? I don't get this.
Probably, yeah. I feel like it should be a law that no matter what, if you hire an outside expert, the results have to be included. You can keep finding all the experts you want until you get the outcome you want, but all the 4 people before that said, no, you're wrong, dude, the ME was right, that has to be admitted as evidence as well. What do you think?
Wow.
That's in Judge Money's court. Done. All right?
Oh, is that the gavel?
Yep. I'm in the gavel right now. I'm going to do it nice and tight. Okay. The judge has spoken. Okay. He's found guilty, of course.
Of course. After what, like 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was not a battle nor war. This was just a Tuesday to this DA of ours, right? Mm-hmm. This was just another day on the job.
And then after the verdict, the jurors came outside and hugged Simonette's parents.
Oh, wow.
Don't see that a lot.
That's pretty sweet. I hope this guy is so miserable and scared in prison right now. Mm-hmm. I hope he is just... Because he's obviously a monster, but he's such a stupid monster. I can't...
He's an idiot.
I can't believe all the ways that he did this where it's just like, dude, such a dummy. And why you had to go finger blast your side piece before you found the body. You had to.
You had to. Dumbass.
All right, well, I believe it's onto those lists. What do you got?
Kate's unnamed list. Simonette's dad was a military man.
Sure was. Count it.
They didn't say what branch of military, but I'm going to take it.
Simonette's father, John, a stoic career military man.
We also had one of Simonette's students who was very upset and was crying a lot, and he had to stop his interview and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And this was a big one, too, where he was tripping up on words, and I'm going, oh, wow, this is it. Is it going to happen?
The shape of her body, you know. Oh, my God, I'm sorry.
That was pretty dope. That's definitely on your list. What else you got?
One more.
What?
Someone said missing piece, I think.
That was it. I was wondering if you were going to catch it because they said...
I can just keep stacking and putting the pieces together.
It was another one of those. Mm-hmm. But we determined last time, count it.
And the detective said it, and then Keith said it as well.
Yeah.
So it definitely counts.
One of the biggest pieces came from the medical examiner.
All right, good catch. You got any others?
That's it for my list.
Boom. Now it's time for... Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List. Kick-Ass List.
Simonette loved Disney and would sing Part of Your World from Little Mermaid. That's on the list.
Yes.
I remember we would just be in class bored, and she would love to just break out singing The Little Mermaid. I'm part of your world.
Oh, the DA is talking about how it's like Jekyll and Hyde, and eventually Hyde is dominant. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's a movie, that's a book, and whatever. That's on my list as well.
Okay. Great.
It's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Hyde's going to dominate.
Am I missing anything? No, I think that's it. Got a few movie ones, so that's pretty sweet. You think we'll get a new one this week?
I hope so.
Did you watch the Mindy Morganson one?
No.
I might throw it on while I'm syncing this stuff. All right, well, be sure to check out the video version of this on YouTube at our ILH YouTube channel, and join us on Patreon to get 2 bonus episodes a month about non-Dateline things. And it's Kate's pick next time, and she's covering a Netflix doc that's hot off the presses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. A Deadly American Marriage or something.
Something like that.
And on that note, I'm Kurt Bunny.
I'm Cateline.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
Say that again?